One of my goals with this podcast is that we help you stay abreast with all of the latest trends and changes to our marketing world. And today we're going to be talking about some SEO changes, particularly within Google. It's called the SEO Alligator. And I don't want to ruin it here by telling you what that is because I'm bringing on our SEO expert, Erin Moore, to the show, and she'll explain. It's a quick episode, but definitely informative if you've seen a lot of changes within Google Console to the results of your impressions and traffic within Google. We have an explanation of why and what you can do about it. While I have you, I wanted to remind you that the 2026 Industrial Marketing Summit dates have been announced. And right now we have a call for speakers and sponsors live on the website. So you can go check that out. We'd love to see you here in Austin in March of 2026. All right, let's do this.
Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in reaching technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues, friends, and clients of mine who will stop by to share their stories. And I hope that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a brief shout out to my agency, TREW Marketing. TREW is a full-service agency located in beautiful Austin, Texas, serving highly technical companies. For more information, visit trewmarketing.com. And now, on with our podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Content Marketing Engineered. I'm joined today by Erin Moore of TREW Marketing, a repeat guest. Thank you for coming back on, Erin. I needed your expertise today.
Of course, I'm always happy to be here, Wendy.
Okay, so I keep hearing this random term. It's coming up more and more, and I need to learn more about it. And it's called the SEO Alligator. Okay, what the heck is it?
Yeah, it's a pretty cutesy term for something that's not so cute. So over the last few months, a lot of people have been logging in to their Google Search Console and looking at a couple key metrics, namely being impressions in Google Search and your clicks or your click-through rate. So basically, like, how many times am I showing up versus how many times are people actually clicking on that link and coming to our site? And this is something that historically you would see, a 1 to 5% click-through rate, maybe on average for most stuff. Basically, if somebody's seeing it, are they clicking through and coming to your site to learn more?
Yeah, this predictable ratio, this benchmark.
Exactly. Yeah. Because realistically, there's no point in showing up in a search engine if people aren't going to click through and learn more. It's just a vanity metric for impression. So this is a way of tracking that health of is my content resonating? Are people coming through to my site and learning more? But what's happening is there's been this split. So now impressions have been increasing this year, but the actual clicks are decreasing. And so it's leading to this, like you can see in my arms, it kind of looks like an alligator. It looks like an alligator mouth, especially with the daily kind of changes that happen. It looks like teeth. So it's this interesting thing that a couple SEOs started reporting. Everyone seemed to notice it right at the beginning of May, starting with April's metrics. I actually noticed it around that same time, where it just started to be it was significantly different between the two paths than it was in March. And March had been wider than February. And I think everyone kind of noticed at the same time that this was a really big split, and it's continued on. So we're seeing that same thing now when we look back at May's metrics. I'd imagine when we look at the full month of June, it's going to be the same story. It's just been this widening gap between how many impressions and how many clicks. And so everyone's click-through rate is decreasing because people just aren't clicking through at the same rate that they were for years, pretty much. So hence the alligator.
So they're looking at those AI overviews, getting enough information that they don't feel like they can click through. Is that basically?
Well, yeah. And so that's pretty much the hypothesis is now AI overviews are default. They have been for this whole year. Google has significantly increased the number of queries that have AI overviews showing. And something else that's changed and why it's been a big widening gap this year is AI overviews now regularly include links both in the text of the AI overview, but also on that side panel, it'll show a couple links. So that's why impressions have increased so much. It's not that people are necessarily searching more and you're showing up more. It's this new format for searching and for showing answers just surfaces up a bunch of links. So now if you were in position 6 and someone didn't scroll in search results, it wouldn't trigger an impression. But now you might just be in that top AI overview. So it's an automatic impression, but no one's really clicking there. So it's kind of creating this split of like, yes, you're technically present, and it's a lot of times not even branded. So it's not like it's giving you brand recognition either. It's just your content fed the AI algorithm, and now that traffic's gone.
Oh gosh. Okay. Are there certain types of businesses that are more impacted by this than others?
Yeah. So what I have seen so far, what I did when I first noticed this is I went back through a bunch of different clients, exported a ton of reports, compared them, compared click-through rates. And there's a couple types of businesses that seem to be still doing well. And that is product companies and companies that don't have a lot of educational content. And the people that are and the people that are having the biggest impact of this are those that like followed the inbound model for years, created a lot of blog posts, kind of followed all those best practices. But those are the queries that AI can answer. You don't need to click through if you're looking up what is SCADA. It's things like that there's just you don't bring any distinct value to that piece. You could be great. Not picking on anyone individually, but it's just there's so much content out there, and AI knows that it can just spit that back out, regurgitate it, and somebody doesn't need to click through. So we're finding that people with a ton of like top of the funnel educational how-to content, you don't need to click through that anymore. And so that's where there's still impressions, but people aren't clicking. And then service companies are having a harder time too, because that is also content sometimes that's easier for AI to regurgitate, as opposed to something like technical product specs and information and some application info that product companies just seem to have a slightly easier time with that. It's something that AI hasn't fully taken, at least Google AI hasn't fully taken yet.
Okay. So if I'm a marketer listening to this, I'm like, oh, Erin, okay, yes, I saw this in my results. Great. Like, this is totally happening to me. What is your advice? Like, what do you do with this information?
Yeah, it's not you. You didn't do anything wrong. The channel has just changed. The channel has been changing very consistently for a long time. Unfortunately, it is in the direct contrast as what a lot of publishers want. So there's a lot of publishers out there who rely on getting people to their site, and they're pretty upset right now. So it's not just you. We could be in a much worse position. However, I think it comes back to anything you're creating, don't create it just because it does well on that channel. I think a lot of people dove on creating this like easy content, easy top of the funnel content, and now AI has it. I still have people kind of asking about some of this stuff because technically there may be volume to that search term. It may be relatively easy to get ranked, but at the end of the day, it's not really going to do anything for your brand because no one's clicking through it. It's like you're feeding robots, and robots don't buy from you. So I think it's really going back to the basics of what benefits my brand, where is my audience and what are they looking for? And how do I create content that no one else can? Like, how do I answer exactly what my audience needs and serve it up to them, again, in the channel of their preference? So that may be Google, that may also be LinkedIn, and it's going to be different content for those two channels. So treat your audience like, they're paramount and create content for them where they hang out in the format that they need. And also just, again, don't regurgitate this like what is type of content. Create something that you bring unique value to. And that's where you're still going to see you get engagement, you get people clicking through, you're building that trust, you're building brand awareness, like you're doing all the things that marketers aim for. I think what we have to kind of divest of though is like prioritizing keywords that have crazy high volume and taking that as like the top line metric for search. But think about really like if somebody clicked through this and found us, what's going to make them remember us? Like, where do we make an impact? And really focusing your effort there. And it's not easy content.
Earlier, you mentioned application specific content. And I think that's a great example of going deeper than just that top level. And really that'll convert better for your technical buyers that are coming and trying to get to know you, because the ones looking for that type of application or something similar, are going to get excited and it'll resonate even more.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, the things that AI can't do are real world examples with data. So what did you, as the expert in this, what have you done for a customer before? And how did you go through that? It's thinking about, again, technical product or service info. AI can't answer that. It's thinking about content that is backed up by your process, your IP, your team. It's all these things that we know that, especially engineers and technical audiences, they're going to vet that anyway. So it's content that, again, directly is benefiting your audience. They want that anyway. And it's just focusing a little bit more on that as sometimes even that like initial content that gets them, and focusing a lot less again on these like really high volume keywords that just at this point the search volume may be high, but the click volume is probably really low. So it's like thinking about and contextualizing it. Like, does somebody need to click through to get an answer on this? And if the answer is no, don't bother creating that content. There's already so much of that out there. Like, it's not going to do anything for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were framing this for the company leader that's pissed because their website traffic tanked, how would you succinctly, like, what would you say to them? What's your quick soundbite that marketers can use to go back when they have to defend what's going on?
I think the way you'd have the most success is by taking it out of that context and focusing on your audience and where your audience is, and focusing on how you reach your audience, because then you're kind of reframing the conversation. Instead of being search is sinking and we're not performing as well, are they even avid Google search users? Have they shifted to ChatGPT? Where do they spend their time? Are they really active in forums or on LinkedIn? It's like, it's taking it out, because this is really, we're talking about a tactic. We're talking about a tactic for a channel. And it should not be your entire marketing conversation, should not be your search, because it was a massive discovery channel for a really long time. And we all started thinking that showing up in Google search was a must have for your business to thrive. And it's just not. It's getting a little bit more even now, where there's multiple channels people can find you in. They're interacting with you and spending time with you in other places. And realistically, your audience is getting their information from a variety of places. It's not just Google. So it's not like you can't forget about it. But I think if you can reformat that to like, let's figure out where our audience spends time. Where do they go for information? Like, go back to your basics, build out your personas, do some audience research if you want, interview customers about where they get information. And I think using that to reframe the conversation puts you in a much stronger spot as a marketer, where you're not trying to defend that you didn't do something wrong, that you haven't made a mistake. And you're not trying to just be like, Google changed, can't do anything about that. It just puts you in a stronger position to make strategic recommendations and feel like you've got something you can do moving forward, instead of just being like, at the whim of Google, which I think we all are. Google's not going to change because it's unfortunate for you. Like,
way more
like
actionable, way more actionable. And, optimizing for large language models like ChatGPT, that's its own episode. Obviously, we're not going to touch that today, but just real quickly to speak to that, how are you answering the question when people say, well, Erin, I feel like everybody's going there. How come I'm not showing up at ChatGPT?
I know, it's really hard. It's really hard because it's based on reputation, and realistically, the people that we see having the best time in the AI large language models, ChatGPT, are people who have, again, a lot of content, kind of did that initial SEO way back in the day, and they've got that content. And so these models are training on data. The more data you have for them, the better the chances are that you can show up. And if you can cross-link to reputable sites, so partners, like I know a lot of these sites like NI has all of their preferred partners. It's a lot of cross-linking. So it's just different avenues for them to find it. And we're seeing a lot of success with PR. When people put out a press release for something newsworthy, you're getting that reputable link back, and you're getting that reputable association. As we have news, and it can kind of help it find you. You're a little bit more visible. But in terms of it's tough, because at the end of the day, it kind of has to have a strong foundation, have strong messaging, be consistent, because otherwise, no matter, you can throw a ton of stuff to the AI model, it's not going to know who you are if you're leading with 18 different things. So you kind of like have to have that. And then you have to have the amplification on top of that through PR and partnerships and events and other places where you're very visible, so that the AI can find you in a bunch of places and kind of form this cohesive picture of you. But it's not easy, and it's not fast.
No. So. Another joyful day in the world of SEO.
I know. I know.
Changing so fast.
Constant change, and most of it's not good news necessarily. It's you're not suddenly thriving overnight. It's a lot of work and a lot of change. But
hey, it's not boring. Let's give it that. It's not boring. So
nope.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for educating me and everybody else listening on the SEO Alligator. And hey, your Florida roots. I mean, I had to ask you about this, given given that.
I know. I will say I've seen some really good images that I didn't coin this term. Somebody else coined this. I noticed the problem pretty early on, but somebody called an alligator, and I was like, gosh dang it, like that's going to stick. Sure enough, SEO Alligator stuck. Just the way the chart is with the traffic day-to-day variations, it just looks like an alligator mouth.
That's funny. Well, maybe send me your favorite link and we'll include it in the show notes so people can see that visual in action. Thanks for joining me today on Content Marketing Engineered. For show notes, including links to resources, visit truemarketing.com/podcast. While there, you can subscribe to our blog and our e-newsletter and order a copy of my book, Content Marketing Engineered. Also, I would love your reviews on this podcast. So please, when you get a chance, subscribe and leave me your review on your favorite podcast subscription platform. Thanks and have a great day.